Gaza. We continue to see how the world justifies the killing of our children, gives reasons behind it. How do you continue to justify the killing of almost now 9,000 children? So for me as a pastor to say, I see the image of Jesus in every child, it's a way of declaring the humanity and dignity of the people of Gaza, and to say that God is in solidarity with the oppressed. And we said if Jesus was to be born today, he would be born under the rubble in Gaza as a sign of solidarity with those who are suffering and are being killed, with the approval of the world. So this was the message. This was what we're trying to send to our people and to the world. And what we still cannot understand, that's why I began by saying we're angry, is that now it's almost 85 days. 85 days. And the world seems okay, and it seems that this will continue.
Reverend, can you tell us and describe how close you are to Gaza residents, including those who are Muslim over there?
The Palestinian people are united. Gaza is part of Palestine. We have friends, we have family, we have, relatives there. And sadly, we've been cut from Gaza for the last 16 years, 17 years, because of this very strict blockade. But your question is important because we need to point out the fact that Israel since 1948 and 67 has managed to segregate the Palestinian people and isolate us into blocks. So they managed to isolate the Gaza Strip completely from the West Bank. They managed to isolate East Jerusalem from the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. I have not been to Gaza since 2011. I wish I could go there. We tried, but Israel limits access even to us Palestinians. In my church, there are members who have direct relatives in Gaza who have not been able to visit them for many, many years because Israel even cuts ties between relatives, between siblings. This is part of the occupation and the apartheid system we live in historic Palestine.
And I want to ask you also, who's Hamas on your perspective, Reverend?
I, as a Palestinian Christian, I don't believe in violent resistance. I think we should resist the occupation, but I think violence brings violence. And I think that there are very effective ways that we should endorse as Palestinians. Non-violent, creative resistance. But I think the world will not do itself a favor if it fails to see Hamas in its context as not just Palestinian people, but part of the Palestinian resistance to the occupation. But Hamas remains not just part of the Palestinian people, it's part of the resistance in Palestine. Hamas exists to resist the Israeli occupation.
Do you say this is a religious conflict?
No, it's not a religious conflict, not at all. When you describe it as a religious conflict, you support and justify, when you describe it as a religious conflict, you play into the hand of the Zionist narratives that wants to promote it as a religious conflict, so that they say what we're doing is a war on terrorism, is a war on Islamic radicalism, and so on. It's not. This conflict has roots. This conflict is about territory, it's about justice. To me and to many Palestinians, this is about the colonialism of our land from the Zionist movement in 1948. This is how it started. When you say it's a religious conflict, you give the impression that two religious communities found themselves in the same land and are fighting because of different ideologies. That's not the case. The case is we were in our land, in our villages, and our land was colonized by the Zionist movement that predominantly came from Europe. And established a state on our land, on our cities, on our villages. This is the root of the problem.
Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, uses the Bible to justify his attacks. So what's your thoughts on this?
If we are going to use our religious text, I hope we use them to promote justice, equality, and peace and reconciliation, not the idea of entitlement. I think when Zionists or Christian Zionists use the Bible, they are imposing their religious beliefs, imposing the idea that God gave them the land and that everyone else should accept this religious beliefs and make it the point to solve this conflict. And I can't accept this. I can't accept it. And I'm horrified in the way Netanyahu and others have used the Bible, because they're basically using the Bible to justify a genocide. The biblical text that Netanyahu used is a text that calls for killing everyone from the Amalekites. So I'm definitely appalled, and I call out again the hypocrisy of the world, because when Muslim groups do this, the Western world goes crazy. When Muslim groups cite the Quran to support jihad, Western leaders go crazy. But when Netanyahu does it, no one objects. And I can't understand this hypocrisy. And I can't understand, everyone is against Hamas for being a religious motivated political group. But why is the world fine with the Jewish state? This is what I can't understand.
But I want to know, what's your deepest prayer for this situation, especially for Gaza residents in this condition right now?
Well, right now, it's hard for us to think of anything beyond a call for a ceasefire. And our desire, our urgent plea to the world, our prayer every day for this war to end. Can't afford any other day. I want this war to end today, not tomorrow. Children are being killed in a horrific way. We're receiving, I don't know what the world is getting. The images we see on our social media and our TV are horrific. They're traumatizing. And they're traumatizing to us watching from here. What about those who are living them? And I can't understand how this work continues to go on.